Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, tattoo collectors of all ages, welcome to Hack Hunter. This is episode number 8, and we went all the way out to the East Coast to help a client who, if I'm being honest, she didn't really have that many good options. You're gonna want to see some of these tattoos that we found. Sit back, relax, let's find some hacks. Alright, let's get it started. Our lead today came from a gal named Fran. Now, Fran lives way out in a small town called Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, and she writes, "Dear Hack Hunter, I live in a super small town where there's barely any tattooers to choose from. There's basically only one artist I know of. I want to start a sleeve, but I don't want to travel a couple hours for every session. So, can you just tell me if he'd be good at doing a sleeve, or if there are any other good tattooers around here? Thanks." Thanks for writing in, Fran. Let me start by saying that you forgot to tell me exactly what you wanted. What kind of sleeve are you talking about? They're not all the same, you know? Listen though, regardless, I'll definitely help you find an all-around kick-ass tattoo artist. But first, let's check out this guy you're talking about. Let's break it down. Alright, Big Dan, coming in it from Sharks Bite Tattoo. This is the gentleman Fran was talking about. You can check him out at sharksbitetattoo.com. He's also got an Instagram. Let's check it out at big_Dan_tattooer. Let's look at his work. You guys know how I like to do it. I save the worst for first, and this one is, well, I think everybody can kind of see what's wrong with this one here. It's a little rough looking. He's trying to imitate a Japanese style, and the main thing I really don't like is the simplicity of the background here. He did these sort of water bars or iso bars back here in blue, which is common, but up here he tried to do like grass bars. Which is not common. You don't see this a lot. I've never actually seen it in Japanese traditional pieces, and I think this kind of shows us why. Also, he tried to do a no-line technique here, which really, you don't see that in Japanese traditional artwork at all. Maybe he was going for his own unique style, but I don't think it panned out very well for him. This is a healed piece, and so I can see right away some of this black just did not take. It just didn't stay. Unfortunately, some parts look really dark, like where he did the black in the teeth, and the black under the eye just kind of looks strange, but certain parts that he wanted to stay real black just didn't. Also, I've pointed this out a million times too in the past, that he did these black whiskers, and this is just something that if you're going to do whiskers, you don't do black and then blast white over top of them later, otherwise it just kind of looks like this. It doesn't look nice. Another mistake that, again, I point this out almost every episode, people, when artists blend gray wash with color. And you can see he tried to do it here with the orange. He tried to gray wash it first, and then he blended orange over the top of it. Ultimately, that means you just beat up the skin twice, and instead of creating like a nice dark orange to light orange blend, it just creates this sort of muddy, ugly color that blends into some orange. And that is definitely not what you want. Another thing is this weird streak of yellow down the back. That's a little strange. I'm not sure if I've seen that in other pieces before, if there was some sort of reference he was copying, or if that was his own touch, but to me that looks strange on a tiger, that yellow streak down the back. Another one, well, we can tell it's a sunflower, right? I mean, it's a sunflower. I'll give him a little benefit of the doubt. Maybe the artist, or maybe the client asked for this sort of strange sunflower design. I'm not sure. It looks very odd, though. Very, very odd. Just judging the technique, though, and his application, you can see how shaky the lines are in here. Far from perfect. And then some lines, like this one right here, just missing. Little gap there, just totally missing. Again, over here, you have it on the end of the leaf. Just missing. Not sure why that's the case. I think he just needs to slow down a little bit, focus on what he's doing. Again, though, he blended the yellow off of this gray wash, and it just looks really etchy and muddy. There's just no other way to put it. You can't do that, especially with lighter colors. Really light greens, really light yellows, oranges, pinks. You can't blend off a gray wash like this. It just muddies them up. If you wanted to do a light yellow, dark yellow to a light yellow, it would be more of a brown or a caramel tone that you would use. You don't want to be using this gray wash. Moving on, this is one of his custom pieces that he kind of was toting on his site as something that he freehanded on, and I can, just from looking at it, I can tell this was freehanded on. I think when it comes to artistic skill or experience, I don't think that's his strong suit, creating custom pieces like this, and one thing I see over and over again is repeating large patterns. You see the skin just... this was meant to be like ripped skin over top of skulls, and just this pattern in the background, it's just very, very, very simple. It's just, and to me, if I'm being honest, it sounds harsh, but it's lazy. That's straight up lazy, Dan. I know you could do better. You got to take some time to look at what, some examples of what other artists are doing. And I'm not saying copy them, but at least they'll give you some ideas as to what sort of smaller detail you could put in there, rather than just these repeating large patterns over and over again. Here's another one that I think he wanted to make it look a lot more 3D and kind of like a horror leg sleeve thing going on. But it comes across in his sort of cartoony style. For one, he uses the same line weight throughout everything that he does. And for two, he outlined the eyes with it. You guys know, I've said this in the past, don't outline the eyes unless you want it to look very, very cartoony and strange. Just a solid black outline. You just don't see that when you look at a person's face in real life. You're not going to want to imitate it on skin like this. Moving on, here, I'll give him a little bit of credit. I know this was a cover-up, but again, we just see these large repeating patterns in the background, these large bubbles, and I don't know exactly what he had to cover up here, but you can see that it didn't need black in all these bubbles. Every single one of these bubble clouds is shaded exactly the same way, and that's a little disappointing to me because it just shows a little bit of laziness. There was so much room here on this person's arm to do some sort of unique texture in the background or some sort of unique details, and he just chose to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. Just wanted to showcase this one for another example of where he mixed gray wash with color, and this was, again, it comes out very disappointing. He just used one tone of this sort of brown, or maybe it's like a light tan, and then he just blended some gray wash in there. The rose is another great example of why you don't do that. This does not look like a nice 3D traditional rose, because instead of blending rich, pure black into the red, which is okay, he blended the gray wash again, and so it just kind of looks muddy and blurry, especially from a distance. Now, you guys aren't gonna maybe agree with me, but I wanted to show this one as a little bit of redemption. I know this doesn't seem like redemption, but this piece was done 5 or 6 years ago. That's why I wanted to show it, because I know it's rough. It's really, really rough. I feel bad for the person wearing that, but I can say definitively that Big Dan has definitely gotten better over the last 5 or 6 years. This was posted in 2015, I think, and yeah, you can see he's come some ways since then. It's definitely improved. Ultimately, though, Big Dan, I would say I can't give you my blessing right now. Keep working at it. Please work with some better artists where you can pick up some new styles of art. Take your time on your art. Another thing to consider is using multiple line weights. You keep using that same line weight throughout every single tattoo that I saw. Mixing up line weights will definitely help differentiate foregrounds from backgrounds. It'll help you accentuate certain parts of pieces that you want and create depth. Moving on, though, Fran, you weren't kidding. This is where you live, Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, and there are exactly 2 studios there. So, you're right, not much to work with unless you want to drive all the way to Providence, Rhode Island. But, luckily, Diamond Mind had a champion of their own. Stick around, let me show you who you should go to. Now, Fran, lucky for you, out of the 2 studios that are anywhere near where you live, we found her, Ashley McIsaac. She is working at Diamond Mind Tattoo. You can check them out at diamondmindtattoo.com. They got a great crew there right now, decent artists all around. You can check out her Instagram. It is AJEM Tattoo. Now, right off the bat, I wanted to show this one. It was one of my favorites of hers. All in all, you'll see as I go through them that she probably specializes a little bit more in color, but I don't know why. She does gray work great. The stippling in his beard here, the sort of soft shades to give that wrinkle in the forehead, beautifully done. You don't see any red welting or beat up skin around this whole thing. I love the extra attention to detail on the lettering here. If you really zoom in, you can see the shades of deep red and light red and white in there to really give it that bubbly blood look. Yeah, just all around an impressive piece. Now, it's not realism per se, but it's absolutely realistic, and this is her style, and so I know that it's intentionally done, and I don't think anybody would be disappointed if they're wearing a portrait of this quality. I think it's absolutely amazing. This one, even though it's sort of just a medium-sized piece, I just thought it was such high quality, and it just shows. Look at the detail on that handle, the time it takes to do each one of these blue dark shades, and then each of these white highlights in there. A lot of attention to detail. She's a very patient artist. She knows what she's doing. Very, very smooth line work. I love in here when you zoom in on the dandelion, you can see a little bit of blue in there also. Amazing attention to detail. Pops off the skin beautifully. And this is an example I was trying to tell Big Dan of altering your line weights. Thin lines in some places and thicker lines in others. This is a great showcase of her color saturation. Again, it's just a medium piece, but a medium-sized piece, but all in all, you zoom in and you can see that saturation. It's very well done. especially blending from yellow to white. Very difficult to do. It's really easy to beat up the skin or to get it to bleed too much and have a hard time blending those two and saturating those two. She did it beautifully, makes it look very, very easy. The black is very, very rich black. You're not seeing any patchy whiteness in there, so you can tell that she takes her time. Even in these smaller pieces, she definitely has the discipline to care about every little piece of it. Here's a beautiful example of her style, I would say, kind of in a nutshell. I love the job she did with this blending and leaving this low light here right off the edge of the cat's face. Beautifully done. I like this style, and I especially like when you zoom in on the hair, you can see the white streaks that she did and the texturing in there. A lot of artists, especially American traditional artists, might just make that all one sort of gray patch that blends from dark to light, but she took the time to do the extra little detail and texture in there so you can really see where that hair flows. I love it. And these whiskers, very difficult to do this. Anybody that's not a tattoo artist, try doing this on paper. Just take paper and pencil and try and draw a nice smooth arcing line, and then draw another one that's evenly spaced right next to it. Very, very difficult to do, especially if you're doing single pass lines, and she makes it look easy there. Oh, going backwards. There we go. This is the next one. I wanted to showcase this one. Some of you might, especially if you're not a tattooer, you might look at this and say, that's pretty easy. It's just a bunch of tiny little lines, and she probably just had to copy a stencil, and you're right for the most part. But can you imagine how difficult it is to do each of these lines the exact same depth? That's the hard part. They can't go any deeper, and you can't go any more shallow. You have to keep each one to the same depth, otherwise you get blowout. You get blurred lines or scarred lines, and she's very, very, very consistent with these lines. That's what's so impressive about it. I zoomed in and really just picked it apart, looking for that blowout and scarring anywhere, and you just don't see it. She had a lot of these pieces in her portfolio, and I think it attributes to how good she is at handling her depth, no doubt. Another beautiful 3D piece. I wanted to showcase this one because when I was talking about Big Dan, he was having a hard time with the points. Look at every single one of her points. You don't see any dots on the end of these points. The points of the moon, everything, the points in these starbursts, they're all very smooth. Those two lines come together to create a nice wisped out line. Another amazing part of this piece is this gemstone here. You can't really appreciate it until you really zoom in this far, and then you can see the multitude of colors that she actually chose. So then when you zoom out, it has that real crystalline look to it, like multiple different lights are shining and reflecting through it. And I think she just did an incredible job. This thing looks like a sticker, and it's going to look like that for the rest of this person's life. As long as they took good care of it, that thing is not going to be faded or blotchy 10 years from now. It's going to look great. So Ashley McIsaac, you are definitely Hack Hunter approved. Thank God you're there in that small town. Fran, please check her out. And yeah, if only every small town had an Ashley McIsaac, I wouldn't be making many of these episodes. So keep up the great work. And now that's it for this episode, but leave some comments below. Let these two artists know exactly what you think about their work. Alright, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching the show. Make sure you subscribe because we put out new episodes every week. Also, hit the bell button so you get notified every time we post a new episode. So when we come to your city, you'll be sure to catch it. Thanks again. I'll see y'all next week.